Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 2024. It's so good to see you back, my friend. I hope that you had a fantastic holiday break and that you got to spend some time with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, laughing, doing the things that you like to do the most, enjoying good food, enjoying a good walk. And hang on, let me go and mute myself because otherwise this echo is going to drive me nuts. And I was saying, I hope that you had a fantastic year. And we're at the most important part of it, which is at the beginning. You might or might not be subscribed to my newsletter, in which case you might have not received the mail that I sent, which is a thought where I was saying something that I'm very, very convinced of that a mentor of mine reminded me about the other day, which is how we start the year determines how we end the year. And that's why I wanted to do the session differently today. We're not going to do our usual questions and answers conversation. We're going to have a discussion where it's going to be more centered around helping you set up so that 2024 is your best year yet, so that you can get to December 31st, look back and realize that you accomplished everything that you wanted to do because it's in your power. No such thing as a year that's too hard. No such thing as a year that's going to defeat you and gonna leave you on the ground. You are going to master this year. You're going to crush it. And I know that the year is going to be for sure full of challenges, full of things that are difficult and things that, will always feel a little bit like something's wrong. But the most important part is not to give up when you face that. And the better you have planned ahead, the more likely it's going to be that you will be ready to take on whatever challenge the year throws your way. Before we start thinking about the framework that I want to share with you, I believe that a couple of reflection points are in order, and I believe that they're really important. One of them is you have to start before you set objectives outside of your own head, work objectives or otherwise. You need to work on yourself. So look inside, look at you. And when we have done that, then we're going to be in a better place to start thinking about your work objectives or your personal objectives or any other kind of target that you want to set for yourself. And so I prepared a few notes. I hope you don't mind that I'm going to be looking down and reading a little bit from my notes here, but I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything. And let's get started with thinking about 2024 and how you're going to show up as the best version of you. You're going to be your best self and you're going to achieve everything that you want to do. First, I would like you to really internalize what I said before. How you start the year determines how you finish it. So let's go into it full of energy, positive attitude, and convinced that whatever you decide you can do, you will do. All right, my friend? So let's go into it quickly. The first thing I want you to do is focus in 2024 in finding balance, but between your work life and your personal life. So that means if you have been doing that in the past, like I've been guilty of also in the past, of working too hard, of becoming absorbed with everything that you need to do and everything that's pending and this review and that call and that customer and this or that, before you know it, you're going to pay a little less attention day by day, a little less to things that are really important. Your family, your loved ones, your friends, your own network, yourself, right? Exercising, reading, doing things that you want. Make sure that this year you set boundaries, that you decide to start at a certain time in the day and end at a certain time in the evening. And that within that window, it's all work and you're going to respect that and you're going to be 100% focused on it. But outside of those windows, the time is yours. You should not be giving share of brain to things that are just going to continue to sap your energy. You should be present. Make sure that you decide to be there for your family, for yourself, for your loved ones. It's probably the best year for you to pick up a hobby. How about learning how to play the guitar? Go and learn how to sing. Go and hike. What is it you want to do? Pick up, I don't know, fishing, You want to do fly fishing this year? You want to start doing camping? Whatever it is, find something that will enrich you and that will charge your battery up for all of the many challenges that 2024 is for sure going to throw our way. The other thing that I want you to do is focus on your team. If you have a team, right? Even if you don't, and I'll get to that argument, but focus on your team. Realize that your career is in their hands. Your success is in the hands of your team. So focus on them. Make sure that this year it's not all about you. Help them. Foster tenacity, accountability, ambition, reality, compassion in others. Make sure that it's not a cutthroat organization running, right? And I'm not going to tell you how to run your team or how to run your business or your company. And probably you do need cutthroat, I don't know. But if that's not the case, where you really need that, then don't. Set your team up for compassionate work. Make sure that they feel like they belong together, like their sum is more, like they are as a team, as a unit, more than the sum of the parts. They should be a stronger entity as a team than they are individually as people added together. Foster kind candor. So Ray Dalio, one of the most successful financiers, has something in his group that's Bridgewater, that he calls radical transparency. And that means that they, as a company, as a culture, call things out like they are. Not in an offensive way, not in an abrasive way, but in a way that if there's things that need to be improved, then everybody talks about that in a very transparent way. If anybody does something that is brilliant, then everybody is going to recognize that as well openly. So radical transparency, I call it kind candor. Being kind, being respectful, does not preclude you and your team from calling each other out on things that could be done better and helping each other grow. Focus on humble leadership. So make sure that you foster and inspire ambition, that you inspire a healthy desire to do more, to do faster, to do better, but doing in a way that is humble, that does not gyrate around you, that is also based on the abilities and the kindness and the strengths of others. The most effective leaders, this is proven by research, are humble leaders. People that know when they're not the best resource to respond something or to tackle a certain problem or just to be visible. So if there's people in your team or in your peers that are better informed, better equipped to handle any given situation, why not recognize that, give them the limelight, and give them the credit and help them solve the problem? Because ultimately, remember this, and that's the crux of humble leadership, it's not about you. It's not. It's about your team. It's about your client. It's about your customer. It's about your company. It's not about you. So that's what I really want you to think about as you start to go into the year and to work with your team. Another thing that I would like to emphasize as we are talking about the team, and let me make a quick break here to get a little bit of a drink of coffee, delicious coffee, by the way. Focus on creating a culture of empathy. So you as a leader are uniquely positioned to set the tone for how your team cares about every other member. Make sure that you make everybody in your team feel included, that you make everybody in your team aware of the fact that we are all human beings with our own stories, our own perspectives, our own problems that are not always visible. So be aware of the challenges, of the struggles, of the achievements that your team members might have, even if they're not showing it, even if they're not telling you. Make sure that they all know. It's always easy when somebody does things in a suboptimal way to criticize and to point fingers at somebody who didn't do precisely as was expected. And I'm not saying that you necessarily tolerate it. I'm just saying be empathic. There might be something going on, some struggle that you're not aware of. Try to reach out and try to be familiar with whatever challenges your teammates are facing. There's no substitute for a team that works collaboratively, but with compassion, and like I was saying a little while ago, with kind candor. You've heard a lot, and again, this is all setting you up for 2024 as we go into your objective setting. Again, the most important thing is to calibrate your mindset so that you go into the year focusing on things that are important. That's why I'm going down this list. Focus on learning. You've heard about the growth mindset, and I'm pretty sure that you've heard it in some place or other. It's a fairly common term these days, but what it refers to is a different frame of mind that is in contrast with the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is one that is more deterministic and that focuses on, I was born with this skill set. That's just how I am. There are certain things that I can do well. There are certain other things that I will never be able to do. That's what the fixed mindset says. Like, you're determined to be how you were born. You cannot learn and be better, and you cannot unlearn and be less bad, right? So you cannot improve. You're the package, and that's it. And also, research proves that this is a false premise. You absolutely have the ability to learn, and that's a growth mindset. The growth mindset is not one that says, this is how I was born and this is all I can do. A growth mindset is, how can I learn more? Because I don't know how to do something, because I did something in a way that was imperfect. There's got to be some learning in there that I can extract and be better. And so that's my invitation to you, that as you go into 2024, you're operating from a base of wanting to grow, of a growth mindset. There's nothing that you cannot learn. There's nothing that you cannot master. And by the same token, there's nobody who already knows it all that won't learn anything new, whether you like it or not, whether they like it or not, whether they admit it or not. A growth mindset is such that you see every opportunity as an opportunity to learn something, as a chance to pick up something new. It's the mindset that will allow you to fall down, look back, take a look at that stone that tripped you up, and allows you to dust off, look forward, learn from that mistake so you don't, trip with the same stone again, and keep going, keep moving forward, and be better because of it. So adopt a growth mindset for 2024 is one of the things that I believe will really help you differentiate yourself. And focus on being better than yourself. There's a lot that's said about the competition, standing out from others who are trying to also get the top job or the next level up, the next promotion, and you're competing against them. And yes, you are, in a way, right? There's only so many spots at the next level above where you are. So definitely not all of you are going to get it. But don't focus on it from the perspective of defeating others. Back to the mindset, to the growth mindset. Your only competition is you 1 year ago. Your only competition is you yesterday, my friend. So I want you to focus on being better than yourself today. What can you do better? How did you do things yesterday? How can you be better today? That's the focus that you need to have going into 2024. Another thing that I'd like to really hammer, if you will, into this conversation would be the importance for you to focus on your mental health, on your physical health. Like I was saying a little while ago, and listen, I'll be the first to admit that I've been guilty of this. I have been guilty of working too hard and neglecting my health and stopped exercising and stopped eating well and stopped seeing my loved ones in the best way that I could. I often did not show up as my best version. I was impatient, I was tired, I was irritable. Make sure that you focus on your mental health, on your physical health, and on improving the environment around you. Like I was saying a little while ago, set aside time for you to exercise. Take a walk, take a break every hour, take a quick 5-minute break, walk around. If there's a garden where you work, go out, take some air. If there's sunlight, let it hit your face, smile, fill your lungs, stand straight, smile, go back to work. Focus on your mental health, exercise, eat well. Identify the things that nurture your soul, that enrich your soul. I was talking about hobbies. Is it something that you just want to spend more time thinking about the longer term as opposed to working on the minutia, the little things, sweating the small stuff that's just going to burn your time? All of these things are things that give you peace and give you mental balance, and this is good for you. So make sure that during this year, however hard it is, whatever you decide to do, focus on that. Stay centered around your well-being and your health, physical and mental. Get sufficient sleep. I am a terrible sleeper. I get up at night and oftentimes it's just very, very difficult for me to go back to sleep. If that's your case, then find time to take a quick 20-minute nap at some point in the day. It's scientifically proven that a 20-minute nap, no more, because otherwise you're drowsy, is going to help you repair and refresh and be ready for your synapses and your neurons to fire at their full potential, so that you are ready to tackle the day. So get enough sleep, get good diet, get good exercise, spend time with friends, focus on other things that will nurture your soul. Another thing that I will recommend that you work on this year is decluttering. If you have a physical working space that is so filled with cables and the mouse and your phone, and there's like a pen and a pencil and your earphones are there and your phone is laying about and your jacket is kind of crumpled and it's a mess, that, believe it or not, also borne out by research, that permeates into your brain. That allows you to be distracted by the many things that are standing in your field of vision. You won't be able to focus as well. You're not going to be as productive as you can be. So make sure that this year you don't hang on to stuff just because you can. If it doesn't serve a purpose, get rid of it or get it out from in front of you. I tend and I try to be very organized and I try to have a very clean workspace. I know that I get very distracted very quickly if there's stuff laying around. And if you were able to talk to my wife, she would tell you that oftentimes I'm just distracted because instead of doing something that I wanted to do, I'm cleaning up my mess from the day before, or I'm organizing cables, or I'm doing something that I probably shouldn't be doing. And that's because my workspace was not properly organized. So declutter, get rid of stuff that doesn't help you, and be organized. Make sure that your mental clarity is helped by the cleanliness and the organization in your workspace, in your environment. Focus on the things that are important. One last couple of things, and then we'll move more into the framework before we start wrapping up. Focus on the positive, right? There's a lot that you could look at and construe as negative. And you could focus on things that didn't go your way and then start wallowing in the pain of things that didn't work like you expected. And before you know it, you're a victim because things didn't go the way that you wanted, and poor you. Don't do that. Focus on the positive. There's a silver lining to every cloud. Focus on finding the opportunities in every challenge. Focus on finding the learning in every fall that you take. Every scraped knee, every banged head against the wall gives you learning that is valuable. Focus on that and how that makes you smarter, and that how that makes you wiser, and now how that allows you to be more helpful to your team, how that allows you to better serve the people that you work for, your clients, your customers, your family. So focus on the positive, don't focus on the negative. There's always going to be people who say things you don't like, who do things that you don't like, who don't listen to you as you would probably imagine that they should. Don't linger on that. Focus on the things that enrich you, that build you up. Go into things with a willingness to learn and a willingness to be better and a willingness to find an opportunity, because there's one. I can tell you from experience. So that's something that I want you to do. And finally, before we go into the framework a little bit, I want you to find some time today. And I'm not going to say that you do it right now because I want you here with me. But when we're done, 5 is space. If you want to be by yourself, then great. Go in front of a mirror, or don't go in front of a mirror. Just stand wherever you want, where you feel relaxed. Close your eyes for a second and see yourself being successful in 2024. Imagine that you're already in December 31st of this year, ready to go into 2025, and that you have accomplished everything that you set out to do this year. Smile. Feel ready for it. Your brain does not know the difference. So my invitation to you is keep up this visualization throughout the year. Always, whenever you feel like your knees are starting to quiver and you feel like buckling, don't. Just stand close, take a deep breath, close your eyes, take a deep breath, smile, and see yourself being successful and feel that you accomplished already everything that you set out to do this year. And I want you to find some space and some time today, my friend, today, and say it out loud. 2024 is my year. This is my year. I'm going to be successful. Okay? So I just wanted to spend some time prepping our mindset and getting ready for the year before we start thinking about more, let's say, theoretical or academic frameworks for how you should be thinking about your objectives for 2024. And so with that, let's go into the topic. How you think about your objectives, everything that you want to do as a jar. If you have a bunch of pebbles, a bunch of rocks, and a bunch of sand, and you have a jar, and you want to fit it all in there. That's how I'm going to invite you to think about your objectives. If you take the jar and you take the sand and pour it in, and then put the pebbles and then try to put the rocks in, you will find that you run out of space. You cannot fill the jar, and you have a bunch of stones that are left. In this analogy, the stones, those rocks, are what's important. The next thing in importance is the pebbles, or the smaller pebbles. And the least important and more abundant is going to be the sand. So there are big important things that you need to make sure that you do. Then you need to do the next following thing, and then at the very end, the sand, the little things. So in this analogy, the bigger the rock is, the more priority it has. So if you fill the jar first with the big rocks, then with the pebbles, then with the sand, everything is going to fit. And that's important as we start to think about the year. So priorities is going to be the key word here. As you think of 2024, think of 2023. What did you do well? What can you do more of? And what do you need to complete this year that you started last year? And you might have desired to end it in 2023, and maybe you didn't. But start to think about last year. And I'm going to invite you to think about what I call a 12-quarter year. The best way to set your objectives in a successful way that is going to allow you to make a maximal contribution is not to think about them for the next 12 months. I'd actually encourage you to think about the next 3 years think about the strategy of your company. And for the next session, your homework is going to be familiarize yourself with the strategy of your company. What are the big things that your company, that your business, if you're a business owner, needs to do and achieve over the next 3 years? Position yourself at the end of the third year from now, right? So 26, at the end of 2026. What should you have accomplished by then so that you realize that strategic vision for your business, for your company, for your team? And those 3 years, divide them into 12 quarters. Each year has 4 quarters, right? So 3 years make 12 quarters. Think of that as a single year that's made up of 12 quote unquote months that are really 1 quarter. So that's the 12 quarter year. What should you have accomplished at the end of that year? Then break that down into the parts, right? Into the different quarters. So during the first year in that 3-year span, what should you have accomplished so that on the second year and then in the third year you build on that base and you get to whatever you're going to try to achieve at the end of the period. So that's the first thing. Get that 12 quarter year view into your mind, and then you break that down into 4 quarter pieces, which is a year. What are you going to do in the first 4 months of that 12 quarter year? Meaning the first 4 quarters, you're going to achieve what? That's 2024. Those are your objectives. By definition, whatever you achieve, if you think about it this way, this year will be the base for next year, and these 2 years are going to be the base for the next year, for the third year. So think about those first 4 quarters. And I want you to think about what you want to achieve following the SMART, famous SMART acronym. If you have not heard about it, your objective should be SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific as in, what exactly are you going to accomplish? I am going to reduce accounts receivable. It's not specific enough. You should be saying, I'm going to reduce accounts receivable by X number of days outstanding or X number of millions of dollars. You should have a very specific target. It should be measurable. It should be something that you can go back and verify and confirm that you have achieved. It should be achievable. It wouldn't be realistic if I were to stand here and say, I'm going to drive accounts receivable to 0. I'm going to collect every single penny that's owed us, because that's not even how business works for most businesses. And that's very, very unlikely. So it has to be achievable. Note that I'm not saying easy, I'm saying achievable. It can be achieved. It should be relevant, meaning that if you tackle that problem, if you achieve that objective, it'll do something to move the needle towards where you want the company to go. It should be relevant because it helps achieve something, or it helps solve a problem. And it should be time bound. You should be able to say, I'm going to do whatever. In my example, I'm going to reduce accounts receivable by 3 days outstanding, to name a number, by the third quarter of 2024. October 1st, I should have seen 4 days outstanding reduced in my accounts receivable portfolio. This is just an example. It could be whatever. But specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. It has to be measured. It has to be based on the strategy of your company. And I really recommend that you take this longer term 3-year view and you think about the next 12 quarters, meaning 3 years, as a single year, and each quarter as a single month. So think about the next 3 years as a year, set objectives for that period, and then work it back into the first 4 months of that year, which is the first 4 quarters, which is 2024. And that's how you define those SMART objectives: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. With that, my friend, we have finished today's session. Next week, we're going to come back to that and we're going to talk a little bit more about the goals, how you can start to cascade them to your team, how you can start to think about them so that they support the strategy of your company. And we're going to be talking about stretch goals and what kind of goals you should be thinking about for the upcoming period. So with that, I wish you the very, very best and most successful 2024. Healthy, happy, full of smiles, full of learning. And I will see you again here next week for our next edition of Growth Bites. Have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.